Hey everyone, this is Helena Hart and I'm here with Clayton Olson today. Welcome, Clayton.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Clayton, for those of you who aren't familiar with him, is an NLP practitioner and relationship coach, and he helps people remove their deeper blocks to love so they can create and maintain fulfilling, lasting relationships. He's also the co-creator of the amazing webinar, 3 Keys to Being Relationship Ready, How Successful Women Find and Keep a High-Quality Man. And I just realized that I didn't ask you how you wanted me to introduce you, so I just made that up off the top of my head, but I think that's probably pretty accurate. How did I do?
That was really good, actually. I thought you were totally reading from a script there, because
Oh, yeah.
I think I have that exact copy on my website. So, job well done.
Oh my gosh, so funny. I'm just making sure everything's working okay. Yes, hello to everybody who's joining. Let us know where you're watching from. And we are super excited today. We're going to be talking about the single most magnetically irresistible mindset that makes a man fall for you. And this is really some of the most important information we could ever share with you. So Clayton, let's just jump right in. Why is it so important that women learn to embody this mindset?
Yes, totally. Okay, so I want to talk about some of this stuff in a little bit of a different way than perhaps I've talked about it in the past, because I think sometimes when we try to tackle these concepts like mindset and beliefs, the more angles that we have to approach it and see these concepts through, the greater flexibility and clarity that we'll get about being able to step into these mindsets and actually enact them in our life. So I was thinking about this earlier today, Helena, when I was taking some notes and thinking about what we really wanted to hit on this video. And I think what I'm talking about in this is we're talking about not just a perspective, not just a way of thinking, not just the things that you tell yourself, but we're talking about an identity, a way or an identity that you would embody as a woman or a man that actually makes you irresistible. So when I talk about embodying an identity, it means like you're a whole complete person that has a certain way of seeing the world. You have a certain way of seeing yourself. You have a certain way of seeing men. And you have a certain set of behaviors and then things that come and flow out of that are congruent. So that's what we're really talking about here when we talk about the most irresistible mindset. So I'm hoping that you can begin to see why this is so important, because it really is, I would say, the Jenga piece or the first domino that makes the rest of everything that goes along with dating and being in relationship either flow and feel congruent, or it has it feel where you're either suspicious or you feel like something like life is happening and you're a victim of the circumstances. So we're trying to shift out of that and shift more into a place where you're a creator of your life rather than a victim. How does that sound? Does that make sense?
Oh gosh, that sounds amazing. It's so in line with everything that I love to talk about and teach. And hi, thank you guys so much for all your amazing comments. We're going to get to all your questions at the end. So if you have any questions about this mindset, once we get into it and exactly how to embody it, we would love to answer as many questions as we can get to. We're going to try and keep this video short for you guys, on the shorter side today. Of course, we always say that, and it doesn't usually.
Thanks for the reminder on that. Yeah.
So by the way, Clayton has an amazing webinar that everyone, please go check it out. It's in the description right now, also down below in the comment section, totally free. We're going to talk about that a little bit at the end, but definitely go check that out if you haven't already. So, all right, we're just waiting for some more people to join. Thank you so much for explaining that. I really love the way you put all of that. Yeah. So let's just dive right into the content of this. What is that number one most irresistible mindset that makes a man fall for you?
Got it. Yeah. So I would say that the number one irresistible mindset that makes a man fall for you is truly being in rapport with yourself, or rather, in some ways, I would say it's almost a perspective of self-love. It's a perspective of seeing yourself as a whole and complete person. Now, Helene, I know that you and I had talked about this before. We talked about the mindset. Do you have anything that you'd want to add to that, of what you think that we're talking to, something that you would like point in that direction and say, like, that's it? Is there any language that you would add to that?
Oh gosh, there's so, I mean, I have so much to say on this. I would love to just do like a whole series of
Yeah.
videos on this. But yeah, I always say is if you're looking to someone else, especially a man, to make you feel how you want to feel, right? If you're coming
Mm-hmm.
from a place of lack in your love life and you're going out there dating, trying to like pull out of a man what you want to feel deep down, it's never going to last, not in any
Yeah.
permanent lasting way, right? Like you're never
Yes.
going to get those feelings from another human being in a way that's sustainable, right? I always say
Totally.
like a man might give you a little reassurance or love or validation for a little while and it just feels incredible, right? But he can't keep that going forever. He's just another person. And often
Yes.
what your soul is seeking is, you giving those feelings to yourself first and radiating those out. That's what's going to attract, match you up with with the right person who's also like a
Beautiful.
whole healthy person that wants to contribute to your happiness. He just doesn't want to be the only source of it. Did I explain that correctly?
Yeah, I love what you said there, and you said it in a way that I think it brings a lot of like brilliance and flow to it. And so I'm going to land it in a bit of perhaps a like saying it in a masculine technical term to anchor it from just a different direction as well. So when I hear you talking about this, what we're really pointing to is switching from this perspective of being externally referenced for your feelings to becoming internally referenced for the things that you're wanting to experience. And we'll talk a little bit about why this is so damn important in not just building a beautiful relationship outside, but really building a relationship internally as well, building the internal ecosystem to be able to then echo that outside of you and create the kind of relationship that you want. So I was thinking maybe it might help a little bit to talk about some of the origins of how I started to see this come up in some of the clients that I was working with that might ground it a bit. Does that sound helpful?
Yeah, I mean, you totally just read my mind. I was going to say, or where you see people struggling to embody this mindset, because I see it all the time. Yeah, where did you get, where did you get into this? Because I know we were talking, I believe yesterday or the day before, and I was blown away by all of this. So you guys are going to absolutely love everything Clayton has to say on this. Yeah, where did you get started with this, and where do you see people struggling?
Yep. So thank you for that. So where I got started seeing this first and foremost was in the realm of breakups. I've got a lot of experience working with folks going through breakups that are wanting to learn to survive breakups. They're wanting to get themselves back. In some cases, they're trying to reconcile with a partner and create something new. And what I see as the determining factor that has somebody either be able to move on in a healthy way, in a healthy manner, or be able to reconcile and create something new with perhaps a relationship that's failing, it is completely determined by the relationship that they have with themselves. And a breakup is no better of a place to be confronted with the relationship that you have with yourself. And a lot of people that come to me, what they realize is perhaps there's a relationship that's not properly. And what gets revealed in our coaching is that they actually have a toxic relationship with themselves. And so even though they're not in a relationship externally with an intimate partner, they are in some type of dance with themselves that is actually toxic, and it's not working for them anymore. And they're left confronting those aspects of themselves that they now have the opportunity to clean up. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because if someone has a toxic or even kind of a abusive, mentally or emotionally abusive relationship with themselves, what I see a lot is with people trying to get back together or get that one person where it's just not quite working. It's like they're cut off from a part of themselves and they're trying to use this other person to solve something for them, usually without realizing it, right?
Perfect. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So that's a scenario where the volume can be really turned up, where we've got a belief and we're saying, okay, if I could just get back together with this person, then I will give myself permission to be happy. Then my life will be working. Then I'll be able to make things right. And so what we're doing is we're using the other person to try to source these feelings of security and safety from, but it's masquerading as love. It's masquerading as us as this virtuous quest that we're on to try to reconnect with the person, when really what's happening is we're depleted on the inside and we're trying to suck the validity and the security from them. So The reason why I bring this up is because in these breakup situations, the volume is so turned up on this. It's so easy and so clear to see this dynamic. But whether you are going through a breakup or not, whether you are in the midst of one or leaving somebody or you have been left, this is also something that can be very present for you now if you are a single woman watching this as well. So if you are single, one of the questions that I would ask, just to begin to perhaps get at the heart of how you are relating to yourself, is what is it that you believe a partnership will do for you? What is it that you believe when you are in relationship with a guy? What is it that you think you're going to get or give yourself permission to finally feel? So maybe even just think about that for a moment, right? Is it that maybe you'll finally feel loved, right? Is it that maybe you'll finally feel desired? Is it that if you're in a man's arms, you'll finally allow yourself to feel safe and happy and satisfied? Well, if that's the case, number one, you're not alone. You're not alone. This is a very common thing. It's a very common game that we play with life, where we believe something outside of us is going to give us final permission to be able to feel something inside. But what ends up happening is, if we are in that mode, if we are playing that game where something outside is going to fix us, what is it that we are practicing then right now? Right? What is the habit that we're practicing thinking inside our mind when we're single? Are we practicing one where we are learning how to feel secure inside, where we're learning to give ourselves love, where we're learning to take responsibility for our own happiness? Or are we training ourselves and the world around us to continually fire the neuronal pathways that we're in a place of lack, and that we're just beginning to look and confirm that there's more and more lack in our lives? I'll pause there.
Yeah, when you said, what are we practicing, the first word that came to mind was disconnection. We're practicing disconnection with ourselves, really like this larger part of yourself. You can think of it as like your soul or your consciousness or God, or how, the universe or life that I believe is just constantly beaming the well-being and love and abundance to you. But when you are practicing some of those things you talked about, it's like you're pinching yourself off from it, right? You're either letting it flow or you're pinching yourself off. And I think that can change moment to moment. But yeah, when you said, what are you practicing? To me, the word that came to mind was disconnection. And then what we do is, I think what we tend to do is want to try and find that connection through a man or through a relationship, when really like I mentioned before, what our soul is seeking is that connection first within ourselves. Which is what attracts a healthy person. We had these are some great questions, you guys. We're going to get to these. There was one from Grace. She said, "What do you mean by toxic? Can you explain that? Like, if someone had a toxic relationship with themselves or with life?"
Yeah. So I'll give one example that comes. Talk to yourself when you fail. How do you talk to yourself inside when things aren't going your way? Are you renting a room in your mind where somebody is just berating you for how worthless you are, or how undeserving you are, or how it's never going to happen for you? The way that we talk to ourselves is often really it's the one very clear way to begin to see what is the dialogue, and how are we treating that younger part of us? Are we super critical? Are we like a critical parent trying to beat ourselves into a place of self-improvement? Are we trying to shame ourselves into transformation, shame ourselves into being motivated? And if that's the case, you're in a toxic relationship. Have you ever seen the movie Drumroll? I think it's called or maybe it's Drumline.
I don't think so. I haven't seen very many movies, but yeah.
Okay. There's a teacher in this movie who is he is the teacher of this band, and the whole movie is about this guy who is just incredibly toxic with the students in the class, under the virtue of trying to get them to a place of perfection. And the way that he beats on them, the way that he talks to them, the way that he verbally abuses them is a great representation of a lot of times the type of relationships that we have within ourselves. It's hard to see that sometimes because it's not out there in the open, but if you really slow down and do things like journal, and be present to the places where you're failing and notice the feelings that come up and how you're talking to yourself, you'll start to witness what kind of relationship you really have with who you are.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, my cat Leo is about to join us. I feel he's jumping in and out of here, distracting me. Yeah, absolutely. And that ties so much into, I know we wanted to talk about, like, if you've been single for a long time, it can be easy to feel frustrated. Something I always say is that there's nothing that a man's going to give you in terms of his love or even his commitment that you can't create within yourself already in terms of a feeling. And I'd love to move into how to actually embody this mindset. I love everything you were just saying, though. That was so powerful. Is there anything else you wanted to add before we move into exactly how to do this?
There is, and this is a really important point. So thank you for asking that, because I want to say that if you're in this place where you are identifying with the lack that's in your life, and you're waiting for someone to come into your life and give you permission to finally feel whole and complete, to feel like your life is working, to feel like you're on track, and you're practicing that, one of two things will happen if you continue going down that direction unconsciously. So if you are building up evidence that something is missing in your life, and you're also building up reasons why it's not in your life, and you're practicing strengthening the something's not right in my life type of thinking, what'll end up happening is if a guy does come into your life, you'll have so much practice looking for the things that are wrong in your life, you will be suspicious of the good men that come into your life. You will not trust them. You will be defended. You will back away. You will think it's too good to be true. You'll think that they've got some type of hidden agenda. And it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy where high quality men can't even break through that defense, because you've got all of this, this practice becoming a detective and expert at seeing what's wrong and what's missing. So your relationships actually won't be satisfying. They will fail to hit the mark, let's say. Okay. Now, here's another direction it can go. So this is direction number 2. If you're practicing where you are feeling depleted, where you are feeling a lack, and you've romanticized this idea that a guy's going to come along and save you from the ecosystem that you've created internally, what will happen is you will train a scarcity mindset, which means when a man finally does come along, it will feel like water in the desert. It will feel like that this guy is going to solve all of these problems. And what will happen is you will unconsciously and maybe consciously project all of the things that have been missing from your life onto him, which is a massive amount of pressure to put on a guy. And if he's got a hero complex, okay, he might take that on and try to be the knight in shining armor. But for the most part, what likely is going to happen if he's a high quality guy is the amount of pressure he will feel to have to solve some type of existential angst that you have will break him. It will be too much of a burden, and he'll have to get away because the pressure is just too much. So in both cases, one, we get defensive and we're not able to even let people in. And the other one, we're leaning too far in, overreaching, trying to grab putting too much importance on them. Does that land? I think it might have broke up a little bit. Yeah,
it broke up just towards the very end. Yeah, so true. I would say those are the two categories that a lot of women who come to me and find my videos here on YouTube and stuff like that fall into one of those two categories. Either they've been attracting the wrong kind of men over and over and over, and it's something internally that needs to shift. But it's so easy to like practice this distrustful sort of stance, or feeling like, okay, that men need to prove themselves to me, because deep down they don't really trust themselves. Beautiful. Or exactly what you said, it's that water in the desert. They put a man on a pedestal because they think that like this is the way that I'm going to solve all these negative feelings or this feeling of disconnection that I have going on. Something I always say is like the way things show up or manifest in the world around you is just more momentum of what you have going on internally or emotionally or vibrationally. So you can't, if what has happened in your past or even what's happening right now, if that's what's like active within you, so to speak, it won't allow anything beyond that in, right? If that makes sense. I hope I'm being clear about that.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, and as you're talking, Helena, I mean, I realize why you and I are chatting about this, because we both, I think, have very similar teachings. just using different language. And I know there's a lot of kind of law of attraction philosophy that is embedded in what you talk about with feminine energy and vibration. So I would love to move. I mean, I think it's important that we're beginning to see what the problem is clearly, because if we can't see the gravity of the suffering and disconnection and the cliff that we're headed towards if we continue, sometimes we don't have the motivation then to be able to take that and turn it into discipline to start to work a different muscle that's going to start creating the type of result that we want in our love life.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, once you're aware of this, I always say if negative emotion or negative patterns are coming up, it's like, okay, something's important here, right? There's a part of me that isn't in line with my true self, or the larger part of me that just knows that you're worthy of the love you desire and all of that stuff. And I always say you can't get to an improvement by continuing constantly to focus on what's wrong with anything, right? So once you have an awareness of this, it's so important to quickly turn your attention towards what it is you want. So like you said, you don't keep practicing these same patterns or habits of thoughts or belief systems. So yeah, I would love to talk about exactly, I know this is a huge topic, but exactly how to do that.
Got it. Cool. And I'm excited for you to jump in and talk about some of the steps that we were talking about yesterday. So I'd love to tee a little bit of this up, and then I would love for you to jump in if you feel inclined to talk about some of the practical ways. I've got a couple here that I want to throw out there, right? So the idea is, the invitation is how do we stop practicing what it is, the way of being that we don't want, and how do we start practicing and creating the identity, the mindset that we do want, that will give us the things that we're trying to call into our life. And the first thing that I would say is to realize, number one, that whether you are single or not, you are in relationship right now. Whether you are single or not, you are in relationship right now, and you are in relationship with yourself, and you are in relationship with life. And how can you begin to see that as sacred? And if the relationship, like, it starts right now, and it's not that, you get to practice being in a relationship once, like a man chooses you, but you realize that you're in relationship now and you always will be. How do you make this the most joyous, fulfilling investment of your time? How do you make life a platform for you to be your best self? So just that simple perspective shift of realizing that the race has started. You're past the starting point. Right? You're past the starting point. You're in the race right now. You're in relationship, and it is up to you to make this the healthiest and most life-giving relationship that you have with life. I think that starts to put the catalyst back in our lap, the responsibility back in our lap to do something. I'm going to pause there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I have so much to say about all of that. Yeah, I always say you always kind of get what you expect, right? Every time, no exceptions, right? And we might have a different idea about what expectations are, but what I'm talking about in terms of like expectations are kind of like these deep belief systems, your desire merged with your beliefs about what's possible or what you deserve or the kind of men that are out there. So yeah, at some point you have to kind of stop asking the questions and just start expecting the love that you want, to start expecting good things to happen to you because you've done this work on yourself to give yourself the feelings that you want to feel in this relationship, which is, I love what you said, basically enjoying your life, making peace with where you are, feeling satisfied, looking for the most positive aspects in your life right now. And just believing that life or the universe or God or whatever you believe is operating here will deliver to you what you want in the perfect timing. That's kind of the way I like to think about things. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love that. So what I hear you saying is beginning to practice having expectations of life, of just like knowing that what it is that you want is going to happen, not from a place of like demanding that the universe make it happen for you, but almost just like, what is it that I have to believe? What might I believe about life if I just knew that these things I wanted were going to come to me? Right. And so another practical way that I imagine being able to build this type of scaffolding for that perspective to blossom is, are you keeping a daily gratitude journal? Right? Are you practicing bringing conscious awareness and shifting your focus from what's missing to what's right in front of you, no matter how small it is? Are you taking note of the synchronicities that happen in your life? Are you taking note of the places where you already feel safe, right? Are you taking note of the places where you already feel perhaps desired, right? Or feel desire? Are you taking note of the places where perhaps you feel free, or where you feel taken care of, or where the components and the places in your life where you feel satisfied? Because the more that you're giving energy to those things, the more that you're training your mind to look for more evidence of that continually in your life. And this is what begins to steer the Titanic in a new direction, where you are using that beautiful, powerful imagination of yours to stop creating realities of lack, but rather creating realities that just have abundance and flourishing in them.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. It's that classic example of when you're like shopping for a new car or something, all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere. And I think there's a scientific reason for that, right? It's like you have this framework in your brain. It's not that all of a sudden there's all these new cars on the road that's the same car that you're looking to buy. It's that you just weren't noticing them before. So yeah, what you put your focus and energy on is what you're going to see more and more and more of in your life experience. It's just more momentum, like I said, of what you have going on internally or emotionally, right? So I think that is so great. Yeah, looking for evidence of basically making yourself feel good. Get to this good feeling place within yourself, and look for evidence of more of that. Evidence will start to fill in that matches those feelings that you can create within yourself. I always say, think about how you want to feel, not the conditions that you think you need in place in order to feel that way, right?
Nice, beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And then take credit for that and just say, I did that, right? I did the work on myself. The more you take credit for what's showing up, especially all the good things that are showing up, the more evidence will start to fill in. As soon as like this day, like this can happen quickly in my experience.
Yeah, I love that. So just to give a quick example of that, sometimes I've worked with clients in the past where something good happens, and the good thing that happens, they say to themselves, oh, well, it's just a fluke. I got lucky, right? Rather than seeing that they created it. And it could be the exact same words could be stated, but from a completely different place within you, which is, oh, wow, I got lucky. Something larger than myself must be looking out for me, right? Or life must really have my back just to even deliver something even that small, but as a sign, right? As a sign that I'm on the right track. So it's shifting the story again to seeing that things are working for you rather than just these accidental flukes that aren't congruent with who you are.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the life you live is created by the story you tell. It's one of those things. It's just every time, no exceptions. So what I see a lot of people do is they look around at what's going on right now, and they talk about things as they are, and they think about things as they are, and they think, okay, here's some things I like about my life, or this man, or this situation. Here's some things I don't like. And so they have this kind of split energy, this mixed bag of vibration, and they just carry that forward into their next day or their next experience, and they recreate more and more and more of the same, sometimes for their whole life. Like they never get out ahead of this. So
totally.
what you're saying is getting out ahead of it. Look for what's working in your life, right? Look for evidence that they're always working out for you. I'd love to hear from you guys too. Let us know your belief systems. I can start to see how this is also in line with what I teach too. Like, is your belief system that things are just meant to be? And so if what you want's coming to you, you can't speed it up, you can't slow it down, it's going to come in perfect order. That might work for you. I think my belief system is, yeah, I could slow it down a little bit, but not that much. With my own patterns of thought, I can get in my way a little bit, but eventually everything I want is gonna incrementally show up in my life in the perfect order. That's, now that I'm thinking about it, that's probably more my belief system. Do you feel that a lot of clients I hear, the first thing they say to me is if anyone can mess this up, it's me, right? And so they're constantly walking on eggshells and not trusting themselves because maybe, they put themselves in compromising situations with men in the past. So whatever story you're telling yourself, if you think you're going to mess up all your relationships, you'll often almost like make that come true. Have you seen that as well?
I have. Yeah, absolutely. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we look for those things. We look for evidence in our life to confirm beliefs that we hold. And a lot of those beliefs that we have, even though they might be consciously making us miserable, maybe stopping us from having the relationship we want, it's all safety patterning. It's all beliefs that are designed to keep us safe. So they can be really difficult to let go of. And that's why I think it's important to just take things in small steps. So if you've got a belief there that I'm just going to mess up all my relationships, it's probably good to slow down and look for the next baby step of the ways in which you are actually making your relationships great and taking note of that. And it's like going to the gym. You're not gonna jump in and squat 200 pounds. You're gonna perhaps start with getting the proper form down and actually building up that muscle memory. And the same is for our psychology as well. Is ridiculous or as minuscule as it might sound, look for these small little wins in your life where you can start to gather the evidence that things are actually working in your favor, that you can trust life. Build the habit of that, and that habit will eventually move into your character, which will move into your beliefs, which will start to move into your identity of who you are. But it takes some consistent action, and it takes sticking with it as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I love that so much. It's almost like if you have a lot of momentum going in a certain direction, if there's a train going 100 miles an hour, you can't just go 100 miles an hour in the other direction, right? That would be hard on the contents of the train, or
totally.
Think of, like, I don't know, what are those things called? Those like carousels that kids play on in a, like,
oh yeah,
like if
the merry-go-round,
right? But it's not like powered by electricity. Like, I don't know. I always think of that. But I don't know. If it's going really fast, if that's the good feeling thought or a belief pattern you want, and you just try and jump on it, it's just going to like fling you off into the bushes, right? So you have to slow it down by going more general, right? Looking for some really general things that are working in your life, or some positive you are experiencing in any area of your life, really. Jump on and then build momentum from there, then speed it up. That's kind of the feeling I got when I heard you talking. What I think most people do is they don't feel good, they feel misaligned. So rather than starting at the basis or the foundation, they kind of jump in the middle. They just jump right in, and then they want to make up the difference with action. Like, I can try and I'm gonna make this guy do what I want, kind of in a very subtle level. Often they don't realize they're doing that. So what I recommend is slow it down. Start at the basis of some just really good feeling words or ideas or feelings, and then let law of attraction do the work for you, right? Start to build the momentum incrementally from there, instead of trying to jump all the way to the end.
Yeah, totally. And one of the things that I'm noticing while I'm hearing you say that too is that what allows the carousel to stop spinning also is not your brute force. It's not your self-accusations and in self-incriminating beliefs about how it's not working. It's actually you reduce the charge that keeps that thing spinning, which is you bring curiosity to the process, right? So if you go in and you try something and it doesn't work, and say there's evidence of something not working for you, right there, that's an opportunity to actually practice bringing curiosity and self-love when you need it most, which is when something doesn't work out your way. And the more that you can do that, that is truly the I'd say the battle, or the dragon, that when you can slay this or befriend it, everything starts to move in this new direction that Helene is talking about.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you can make peace with where you are and rest in like the okayness, I don't know if that's a word, but okayness of wherever it is, you immediately start turning in the direction of what you want, because you're releasing resistance, right? That engine of desire can just like take you. So when I talk about getting into this state of allowing, where what you want can actually start showing up, it's all about releasing resistance. That's it. Just releasing resistance, old thought patterns that aren't serving you, letting go of doubt. And that can be hard, right? But yeah, I love what you said. Making peace with where you are is always the first step. It immediately points you in the right direction. Where if you're beating yourself up, it never helps. There's just no situation I can think of where that could possibly help you, right?
Yep. And so as I hear you talking, there's a couple other things that are popping up. And one of them we talked about yesterday. So I'm sure there's going to be some areas where you can fill in here. But it's also this idea that we're never going to get rid of the problems that we have in our life. Our problems may be upgraded to new problems, new maybe higher quality problems that we actually want. And the invitation in this is to look at perhaps the things that you want in life. Like say you're wanting to be in partnership, and rather than romantically thinking about just only the good parts of it, perhaps just experiment looking at also the new problems that will naturally have, right? So there's probably going to be points where maybe you feel incompatible with somebody. There's probably going to be places where maybe in the relationship, and if it's going really well, you might have a thought that you might lose it, right? So it might be a fear or a panic of, oh my God, I'm never going to have a relationship, and now you've got it, and it's like, oh my God, well, I might lose it. And then if you for sure have it, it might be like, oh my God, does he still love me? Or how come it's not how it used to be? It used to be so good. And is this all there is to life? So the reason that I put this out there of realizing that you will consistently have new problems that you are dealing with, regardless of the things that you get that you deeply want now, it actually just has us slow down and realize that maybe where we're at currently is good enough, and that there is no us being saved by something outside of us, even though we might convince ourselves there will be.
I love that so much. Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, it's like you're never ever going to be at a place where you don't want more than where you are right now. Like you're never going to be done with this, and that's actually a great thing, because that's the basis for expansion and growth and learning, and that's the whole reason we're here. I feel is like the reaching for it. It's the fun along the way of getting what we want. So, but it can be so easy to be unhappy or not be enjoying life or embodying this mindset because we're not there yet. There's just like such a value in our culture. I don't know what it is about like getting over there, and so people think, oh, I'm gonna feel so great when I lose 10 pounds or when I find the love of my life and settle down, or get into my dream home, and there's always going to be more that you want, right? Once you get into that relationship, just like you said, there's like sifting and sorting and finding out things you prefer and the other person prefers, and that's so it's all to say where you are, you might as well start liking where you are, right? Because you're never going to get there until you make peace with where you are. So I really like that. Is there anything else you want to say on that?
I don't think so. No, I think you nailed it. And it goes all the way back full circle to practice appreciating where you're at, so that when you do get the thing that you want, you have practice and you have the ability to appreciate it, rather than take it for granted or see it and be like, oh, wow, it didn't give me the feeling that I was hoping for. So yeah, realize like, look, if there was no place to get to, if there was nothing outside of you that could possibly solve any problems, and it's all comes from inside, how would you orientate to life? How would you spend your time? What kind of conversations would you have with yourself? Where would you draw boundaries in your life? Where would you stop beating yourself up? And how can you do that now? And in some ways, that might feel really scary to some that are watching this. You might think, okay, well, if I believe that something outside of me is gonna help me, it kind of gives me the hope that there's something out there that can save me. But when we take that option away, it's like, oh wow, now it is all up to me. It's not that, and that can be really scary, and it can be simultaneously super empowering. I believe that is the path to mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm just starting to. I was so wrapped up in what you were saying, I forgot to check, or I didn't forget, but I haven't checked the chat yet. Great. We'll get to some of these questions. Lighthouse has an amazing question. How do I implement all these insights without feeling like I'm in the masculine energy paradox? Great. I mean, I would love to just give something quickly. Is that I don't know? Are we out of time or?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I know we're a little bit over on time. Yeah. One really practical thing everybody can do is just stop taking score of where you are. Right? Like it's my but again, look at what this thing is getting tangled in my hair. Sorry, it's driving me nuts. What belief systems are operating here, right? No, it's my belief that no one is taking score of any kind, right? There's nobody judging you. There is nobody looking at where you are and saying you should be somewhere else, except for ourselves, right? So when you stop taking score of where you are, you immediately begin to feel better and start feeling more at peace with yourself. And then as you start to feel better, more of what you want starts to flow into your life and show up. Like Clayton said, the more you start looking for the positive aspects in your life and taking credit, and just something really practical everybody can say to kind of embody this is something like, the absence of this thing that I want is no big deal, because it's a temporary condition. Everyone write that down. It's a temporary condition. We don't think that a lot of times. We think like, maybe he'll never show up, or like maybe my relationship will never improve, or I'll always feel empty and lonely, right? Just go, this is a temporary condition. And in the absence of your sort of angst and frustration about it, you produce this atmosphere of allowing, right? Which is the path of least resistance to everything you want showing right up. So hopefully that gave you some, very practical thing you can say. I don't care about the absence of what I want. Not, I don't care about it because I don't want love, because that's crazy. We all want love, right? We're never going to stop. You can't really help but expand your desire, because once you have a desire for something, it never really goes away, right? Your ego might say, oh, I've certainly been in the place where I said, I hope I never catch feelings for anyone ever again, right? But that was my ego talking. Of course, we all want love. We all want abundance and well-being. So you just think the absence of this right now is just a temporary condition, and it's no big deal, which releases some of that resistance, which puts you in this state where what you want can start making its way to you. It's just a little crack in your resistance where a lot of good things can start flowing in. So do you have anything you want to say on that while I kind of look through these questions?
Yeah, beautiful. So one thing that I would add is, like if we were just imagine a kid, perhaps, who is maybe in their masculine essence, let's just hypothetically pretend this is occurring, and they want to go build a sandcastle, right? They might be really attached to the result that they're not going to be happy or have fun until the sandcastle is built perfectly, right? But is that what children do? Not really, right? How do kids approach things? They approach things with a sense of play. Right. So everything that we're talking about today, let's take the word implement out of it, and maybe just think, how can I flirt with this idea? How can I have fun with this idea? How can I play with this idea, and approach this as a game rather than as work that you've got to do? Because when we play with something, it's built in that we're enjoying the process, where when we're working with something, it's almost like we're waiting to enjoy the process until the final result is delivered. And so switching from all that we're talking about from work to play, I think, is another access point to step more into this feminine flow and energy, and realize there's no place to get to here, and enjoy it.
I love that. Yeah. Oh my gosh, these are such great questions. You guys, there's so many people watching live that the first half of the chat, I can't get to it. So if you asked a question towards the beginning, maybe ask it again. A lot of people asking about synchronicity. A lot of people, synchronicity is so cool. I'm always amazed when that happens. Tris asks, Judy says, agree with noticing synchronicities. That was an appreciated one to hear pointed out. Maria says, synchronicity, can you explain more? I've noticed a lot of numbers aligning for me. Is that an example? Yeah, I think it's what Clayton was talking about at the beginning, is what you put your energy on and focus on is what you're going to see more and more of in your life experience. So where are you putting your focus? Are you focusing on all the terrible dates you went on this year, or are you focusing on that one good thing that happened? I always say, if one bad thing happens to you during the day, or if 100 bad things happen and one good thing happens, but talk about that one good thing that happens. Just like mull it over in your mind and totally milk it if that's how you have to do this. And I just don't think there's any reason to squander this moment on an old unhappy memory, because when it comes to this mindset, I think the emotional reality you're creating within yourself right now is all that matters, right? Like, so whether you are thinking about the past or worried about the future, or noticing something in the present moment, noticing these synchronicities, your thoughts and feelings about the past or the present or the future is your life. Like, that's all your life is just a string of these now moments. So yeah, pay attention to what you're focusing on, and you'll start to see more and more of that. That's my understanding of synchronicity. Clayton, what do you have to say on that?
I don't have to say, there's not a lot that I would add to that. I think you nailed it. I know that for me, paying attention to synchronicities adds an element of magic to my life. And I believe that the more that I can allow magic into my life. As cheesy as that sounds, I'm saying it out loud and it sounds kind of cheesy. Like I want magic in my life, but I do want magic in my life. I want to embrace uncertainty. I want to embrace the unknown. I want to develop a relationship with uncertainty and with the unknown where I'm looking forward to it and where it excites me, because guess where uncertainty shows up? It shows up in dating. It shows up when you're in relationship with somebody and you're wondering where it's going to go. It shows up in those make or break moments with somebody where perhaps some truth and honesty is required. And the more that you can already practice having a relationship with uncertainty in which you're welcoming it into your life, the more resilience you're going to have to be able to show up fully present in those moments when it counts.
Totally. Oh my gosh. Yes. I love that so much. Yeah. Haley says, staying negative and surrounding yourself with negativity, life will be negative. If you're positive and surround yourself with positive things and people, life will be positive. So many great comments just like that.
I love your audience. I love your audience. Yeah, they're so great.
The belief system I have is that I just attract the best people around me. That's true, right? Like I think you don't have to explain anything to anyone. For everyone watching, there's another kind of practical thing. You don't have to make anyone understand anything. All you have to do is be yourself and be alive and be authentic. And because the universe is not going to match you up with someone who's not ready for you, right? They won't match you up for very long because they won't be able to stay in your experience. And that's why I have the best audience on YouTube. You guys, your comments are amazing. I can't wait for you to read a lot of these. Christina asks, where did that one go? Something about what if it's the man that keeps sabotaging things? Do you have any thoughts on that? Where I would love to hear what you have to say on that.
Yeah. So the man.
Yeah. What if it's not you, but the guy who self-sabotages the chance of a relationship because he may feel lacking in some way?
Yeah, that's a tough situation. And I think that it's really important to get in touch with the things that you can control and the things that you can't control. There can be a lot of suffering that is created when we're focused on, when we're starting to think that it's our job to heal the guy. It's our job to make the guy feel confident, to heal some type of work that the guy has to do on himself. Maybe he's got to go to therapy. Maybe he needs to sabotage the relationship as part of his own spiritual growth. So he finally hits some place where he is forced to look at his patterns. And one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody is being able to have the courage to walk away from them and allow them to be with themselves and feel the consequences of whatever it is that they're putting out there in terms of an energy or dynamic. And it takes a lot of courage. And I think in the midst of that, avoiding blaming him is huge. Avoiding making him feel worse than he already does is another important piece. And what that means is seeing even his actions of self-sabotage, not taking them personally. There's a lot of women that I coach that when I'm working with them, they are looking at a man's lack of emotional availability. They're looking at a guy's lack of relational capacity, and they are personalizing it, meaning something about them, where it's like, oh God, if I was just this, or if I was that, then this guy would be different. And wow, what a trap to get into. What a trap to get sucked into, thinking that, you're going to be able to change someone's ability to relate. So the more that you can depersonalize it and look at it with curiosity and have some compassion, simultaneously looking out for yourself and asking like, hey, is this what I want to be involved in right now? Is this serving me? Right? And don't compromise yourself. You don't have to sacrifice yourself for love. You don't have to compromise who you are to get love. It might take you being able to believe in yourself enough to walk away and say, I deserve more, and declare that to life rather than stay in something that's not really congruent.
So true. Yeah. And everyone's loving the play analogy, by the way. I say, wow, you two are great. I love the play instead of implement. Someone, Sharon says, Helena, your guest is amazing. Thank you for the play versus work mentality. Can we take one last question before we close out?
We can. And can I just throw out there that people should join the webinar? Would that be all right? Just to say,
he was worried that I wasn't going to tell anyone about his amazing webinar. Please go check out his webinar.
I was like, Helena, we got it. 3 keys to attract and keep a high quality man. We talk a lot about some of the different roles that women unconsciously slide into that is typically due to some type of wounding that happened in the past that cause you to disconnect from yourself and disconnect from trust, secure attachment when dating. And we also talk about another form of vulnerability, a way to actually call a man into his best self through being vulnerable. So check it out. It's in the link below, or I think Helena's got it somewhere on her side. But if you haven't checked it out, definitely do. If you've enjoyed this, you're gonna love that.
Yeah, everyone, if you like my work, you're gonna absolutely love this. It's like it dimensionalizes some of these concepts in a whole new way. And Jack Butler's, and you guys, Jack is like a huge favorite on my channel, and he's on the webinar too. So if you want to see Jack,
he is.
He is so smart and amazing. So yeah, everyone's
he's got that accent too.
I know, it's kind of like everything he says. It's like, yeah, that's probably right. He just sounds so brilliant.
Exactly.
Let's see. Yeah, everyone's talking about slowing down. Slowing down helps them. Someone was saying, like, you know, it helps them a lot to slow down, washing the dishes, doing things. I love that. I love all of these comments, you guys. Okay,
Wonderful.
let's take one more. How do you create a safe environment for yourself to land and express yourself and be truly connected? Great question.
How do you create a safe environment for you to express yourself and feel truly connected? Got it. Well, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that question is I think one is strengthening your relationships with people that are really cheerleaders and fans of you. So talking about this, I'm answering this from an external standpoint, looking for the people that are not critics of you, and looking for the people that are cheerleaders of you, looking for the people that you really can be your best self around, and practicing truth telling with them, and also practicing truth telling with yourself. You know, I think that when we talk about expressing ourselves, I think that it is almost synonymous with speaking the truth, right? Because an expression of ourselves is a true expression of ourselves. It's not something inauthentic, it's an expression that comes from within. So I think the more that we can practice telling the truth in our lives, telling the truth to ourselves, telling the truth to our friends that care and love about us, the more we strengthen that muscle to be able to feel safe enough to express ourselves. Some of us have a belief in there that other people can't handle us. Other people can't handle our truth. So we dim ourselves because we don't want to overwhelm people. My invitation would be that, hey, maybe people are stronger than you think they are. Maybe your friendships and the people that you love in your life are not quite as fragile as you might have thought based on something that happened in the past. So that would be one way that I would talk about it. How about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I love what you said there. I think that I don't think I could have said that any better. I think that's amazing. And also, and this is kind of, I don't know if it's off topic, but to me, it sort of fits right in. If you can accept everything we're talking about here, this mindset and this kind of belief and way of being in life, if you can get there, even just for a second, if you can accept that as like the goal or the manifestation you're reaching for, everything you want will start to flow in, and you do create this safe environment. Just, you know, even if just a second of not, if you can stop beating yourself up for 5 seconds, right? I did that, right? Yeah. And accept that, just write that down. I like this manifestation because it is the manifestation of thought or emotion, and those things need to happen before what you want can come into place. It's one of those things that never happens the other way around, right? You have to create this connected feeling within yourself before you can ever before you can ever connect with a man. I always say the way to connect with a man's heart is always through your own heart first. So if you can get there, you got like 10, 20 seconds is all it takes for the momentum to start gathering and just go, I did it. I got there. Take credit for it and then watch the evidence fill in. But the good feeling and the not beating yourself up is the manifestation, or is kind of the goal that you're reaching for here. That's all you need to do, I think, to create this feeling of safety within yourself, so then you can create it with another person. So yeah, any last words of wisdom before we close out?
Yeah, I love that. Well, one of the things I was going to say is I kept saying every time you were talking. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. And I realized I might be stealing the camera over my ums and ahs every time you're talking. So I apologize if that's the case. I don't mean to take away from the wisdom that you just said there.
I think it was fine. I think it was. Oh, you just froze for a second.
Okay. One of the things that I had to say then, just that. Oh, can you hear me?
You're good now.
Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. So I'll just add one little last piece to what you just said, which I thought was brilliant, which is that we got to stop beating ourselves up if we want to feel safe. safety does come from inside of us. And when we can see that and we stop looking for safety outside, but we look for the safety, how to create safety within, that really is the first step. I have said this before, that we're not actually afraid of other people's judgments. We're actually afraid of other people exposing our judgments that we have around ourselves. And so when we can clean up the judgment that we have towards ourselves, the violence that we create towards ourselves, we're no longer fearing what other people are doing out there in terms of their reaction to us, because we're able to actually see that their reaction to us has everything to do with them, and it has nothing to do with us. It has everything to do with what they're grappling with, and it's none of our business. And so we stop feeling threatened by other people's perceptions of us, which really is, I think, one of the most powerful keys to confidence and magnetism.
Wow, I feel like we could do a whole nother video just on that. That is huge, amazing. And we went like way over, like twice as long.
We did. I know. It happens. It happens, Elena.
Yeah, but yeah, so someone said, yes, thank you for answering my question. Lucy says, thank you. This is so good, so amazing. Haley or Harley Girl says, when I started being grateful for everything in my life is when my whole life around me changed last year. So grateful. I love that answer. Wow, I love that. This is so true. Yes, Tina, this will be posted in a couple minutes, right? As soon as we finish. Someone else says, yes, they need to watch their webinar. Yes, please go check out Clayton and Jack's webinar. The link is in the description right below this video. It's also down below in the comment section. And you guys will absolutely love that. It's called 3 Keys to Being Relationship Ready, how to attract and keep, how successful women attract and keep a high quality man. Do I have that right?
You got it. You got it.
Okay, awesome. And let us know if you guys liked this topic, if this was helpful for you. Let us know down below in the comment section if you're watching the replay of this. Would you like more videos around this topic or something similar? Because this is the kind of stuff we really want to talk about, right, Clayton?
Totally, totally. Yeah, anything that you want us to expand on or just have a conversation around. You know, I mean, I think, you know, Helena, you and I, we're privileged enough to be in a situation where we talk to a lot of people, and we've got the time to really think about these things and dive into them and pull them apart. And I love having these kind of conversations, not coming from a place of this being the gospel, but truly just an exploration of dialogue that you guys get to be involved in and ask questions. And we're learning so much as we talk about this stuff. I had a number of insights just being on this call today. So thank you, Helena, for holding space and throwing in your 2 cents. It's been great.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, and I always say this isn't, we're not saying this is the way the world works, because who knows, right? This is something that works for me personally. I hopefully gave you a couple different like beliefs that you can just try on for an hour or a day and just see how that feels to you. And yeah, we need you guys to help bring us some of these thoughts and ideas forward into the next place. We can't do this without you. So please let us know what you think down below in the comments. And most of the ideas that we get for our videos, at least for me, come from your guys' comments and questions. So we would love to hear from you. Love hearing from you guys. This was amazing. Go check out Clayton's webinar. Clayton, thank you so much again. And let's definitely do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.